tell me about Dwayne Leatherwood. You said you're from South Florida, but how long have you been here? Why did you get into real estate? How long have you been in real estate?
Mhm.
Open the hood, let us in. Who
Okay.
are you?
Yeah. Well, my father was he was a broker, or he was a real estate agent. And he also, well, he worked for Exxon. He started when he was really young. He was a plant manager with Exxon in Virginia. And then he got into real estate. From there, he went into building. He would build homes, and then he got into building smaller shopping centers. So I just remember from when I was really young, real estate was always a huge part of our life. We moved a lot because my dad built houses, so we moved a lot. And my mother, she was kind of ahead of her time. She was this is back. And you know that I'm older than you too, Chris. But this was back when they had this thing. It was called Women's Lib, and my mother was really involved with that, and so she was a career woman. She started out as a stenographer. I don't even know if you've ever heard of that word before.
Yep. Yep.
And she worked her way up with Sunoco. She worked her way up to the VP of HR through for the East Coast of the United States. So my mom worked a lot too. So when they talk about, and I had the best parents that you could ever have. But when they talk about those latchkey kids, that's what I was.
Love it.
I went but I remember back in the day, my father used to have these books. He would bring these blue MLS books home, and you would get a new one every week, and you would go through different areas. I just remember we lived in area 62, and I was fascinated by those. And I would know the areas before I knew zip codes. I knew the neighborhoods, and I was only like 12, 13 years old. So I don't know why I didn't go into real estate earlier. I just thought, but I did choose the path of human resources. And so I went to school at VCU. I got, and then after that, um, our whole family is down in South Florida, and my parents were kind of going back and forth then too, from Richmond, Virginia to South Florida. And so I moved to South Florida, to West Palm Beach, and where we had spent a lot of my time as a kid too. And this was in the late 80s, I guess, 1990. And I started with a recruiting firm. It was called Robert Half and Associates, and they're a publicly
Yeah.
traded recruiting firm. And I was in the finance and accounting division. And so I was a headhunter. And so that was at the time when we just had something called DOS. And it was just basically, it kept people's contact information on the computer. So I would do 100 phone calls a day. That was what we had to do. We were checked on it too. Things were very different. These kids now would go home crying if they went through what we went through, and were talked to the way we would. But
You mean
so I would
you
just
don't think they could stand a little green flashing box on a black screen?
no, nor could they take. They, I remember my manager was from Manhattan, and I asked her my first day or two. I said, how do I get my leads? And she brought the phone book in, and she just threw it down on my desk. And I won't use the language, but she said, here are your effing leads. She said, start calling. Well, nowadays that wouldn't fly. So kids, these guys, these people in their early 20s would go screaming home to their parents. The parents would come to their jobs. So,
Yeah.
but back then you just tough it out. And I do think that that's what laid a lot of the groundwork for the way that I work now. Communication is key to me, and I'll get on into that in a second. But so I started this recruiting. I was with Robert Half. I met a business partner there, Sharon McEnroe, and she was on the finance and accounting side too. So we started a company called McEnroe Leatherwood and Associates, and we had one small little executive suite. Well, that grew to an office in Fort Lauderdale, and we had one in Miami, and then we had one in West Palm. And we had a really good business. I always wanted to go into real estate because we were recruiting from across the country, and I would send out these new recruits or people that were moving to South Florida, because our business was primarily the cruise lines. And so I would send out these referrals to agents, And at the time, they would, they would just bring you in a nice gift certificate for $100 for Ruth's Chris Steakhouse or something. And I just knew my dad, and he died early in life. My father passed away 15 years ago. He was only 64, but he worked himself to death. We all knew that he would probably not live long. But he, I was thinking, you know what, I could be getting a 25% referral fee if I got my license. So I got my license, and that's when we had to sit in class. So I took the time off and did the class. I think I failed maybe 2 or 3 times. And I remember the instructor, I'll never forget this. He said, the most successful agents usually fail the test a few times, because when you're too methodical in real estate or you think too much, it's a detriment. Sometimes you have to just, do and not think so much, and it's about personality too. So, it bothered me, but I did pass. And the way that I passed was, I had heard that if you take the test in Spanish, that you will, that they only have one test. So if you fail in Spanish and you go back again, it's the same test. So I speak Spanish. So I requested it in Spanish, and so I passed the test. Um, and so Sharon and I sold a company. This is just before, and I don't remember the exact year, but it was when the crash happened with the job market. And so we sold the company to our regional, or director. I say regional, but he was a director. He had the 3 offices. The business, we got half up front, and then the other half he filed bankruptcy on. So we were included in that bankruptcy. But by then my real estate career had taken off, and I had met another agent that I knew of, and her name was Michelle Howland. And we started with the Sotheby's franchise down in Coral Gables. So that really got me started into the luxury market. I didn't plan it. It wasn't something that I was like, I'm going to pursue the luxury market. Quite honestly, it was something that I didn't want, because I know how tough those clients can be. So we started when her name was Mai de la Vega, and she started the franchise, and we were the second and third agent there. Now she's got thousands of agents. If you look up one Sotheby's, they're the largest. I think they're one of the largest in the United States franchises. So she's done an amazing job, and I still stay in contact with her. I still have my license with them, but I'm a referral agent, so I refer business down there. So I was already doing my real estate thing. So that's a really long answer, but that's kind of how it all got started. And then we moved here 10 years ago. It was 10 years in October, and I didn't know one person. I just started networking. I just started getting out there. Every function I could get, the Chamber of Commerce, everything that I could get involved with, I got involved with. So I was 4 nights a week, 3 nights a week, I was out at different functions meeting people. And I started with a team, and I was only there 3 months, but I wasn't like a team kind of person. I wanted to do my own thing. And I had gone from doing 60 something million dollars in real estate to doing 0, when we moved here.
Sure.
And yeah, but we wanted the change of seasons. My mom was in Richmond at the time, and so we wanted to be close to her. And this is only 2 hours and 15 minutes. So about 10 years ago, started here. My first year, I did 3 million, I think, in sales. And this year, it's probably going to be like 25, 30, somewhere in that range.
That's an incredible jump in a really new market, all things considered, a market that you had to build from nothing, right? I mean, so when you're communicating with your buyers or sellers, right, how are you preparing them? So if there's a home buyer listening that says, I need to get into is now a right time, whatever it is, what are things that a buyer might need to consider or a seller might need to consider when answering that question?
Yeah. And it, 2 months ago, it wasn't that much of a concern. With interest rates rising, it's become more of a concern. I have been very fortunate that a lot of my business, they're listings. So, and it happened, like, again, organically. It was one referral led to another. I'm not on the referral program with ERA, but I was, and it helped out a lot when a couple of years ago, 4 years ago. But uh, 3.5 years ago, whatever it was. But all of my business is pretty much referral business. It's to the point now where I'm referring business out to people in the office. Um, but back to your question, I use what I've started to use, and most people know this. Raleigh gets, and I'm not sure about Charlotte. Well, Charlotte does too. You guys are just usually a few behind us on fastest growing and companies coming and everything else. So I've put together a list of companies that have just, in the last year, we've got Nike and we've got the Vietnamese car company, and Apple was number one. Home prices went up 19.8% in 2 weeks after Apple made the announcement in April.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm I'm involved with the Raleigh Regional Triangle, the MLS. So we get a lot of these statistics, and these numbers, and also I'm on the chamber. So we get a lot of these numbers, but 19.8% within 2 weeks of that announcement. So what I use is I see, with people, especially moving here locally to our area, is look at the companies that are moving here. We've got 3,500 coming here for this with the Vietnamese car company. There's a jet company that's coming here. We've got all of these companies that are moving here. I'm not saying that we're recession proof, because I don't believe that anyone is, but we're as close as you can get. And as far as interest rates, that's a little tough, but I tell people it's still only 5%. That's almost, to me, like free money. I mean, I've been in this long enough to know when we were getting 8, 9%, and we used to be like, that's a really good interest rate. I remember having an interest rate like that. So we got spoiled for a little while. But if you take the cost of, anywhere from that 9 to 13% appreciation that we're seeing, like in, say, North Raleigh or Cary, you're seeing that every year. Even if your payment goes up just a little bit, the appreciation that you're going to have, and I show people that rents, and what rents are, or you can rent a 1-bedroom apartment, for $1,400 a month. So I use the companies that are coming here and say, I don't foresee, I know people say, oh, a crash is coming. I was at the gym last night, and this guy who knows me, he said, I would hate to be in your industry. He says, because the crash, he's in his 60s. And he said, the crash is coming. And I'm just like, oh, I hope not, but I don't think it is. I think we're going to stabilize a bit. I never thought that I would see 24%. And when I read that last year that Wake County would go up 24% in a year, I was like, this is BS. That's not going to happen. Well, sure as hell, it did happen. It went up to, there are a lot of areas that went up 23 and 24%. I live in one of them, actually.
Right.
So, and so it did go up. But I use the companies that are coming here. I use I think that there's some Sunbelt states like California, Nevada, Florida, Arizona. They may see these tourist areas, where things, and I don't even think there's going to crash. And but I think things will stabilize. But you're still going to be okay. We've got too much going for us here in this area that I feel like. I hope that helped. That's kind of a weird answer in a way, but
Yeah. So, I mean, when somebody's looking to relocate, right, especially if they're coming from, Sunbelt area to the Triangle area, what's that communication look like? How frequently are you communicating with these folks? Because if they're local, the research is different, right? I mean, you have more accessibility to go on the fly to look at a property. If they're relocating, that looks a lot different, right? I mean, you've
it
got to
does.
do a lot of research and then hit it at one time. I mean, what's your process look like there? What
Yeah.
can somebody expect there?
I have a relocation package. As a matter of fact, Tanya, she saw those the other day in the office. I had them lined up on the counter. So I have a relocation package, and it has a map, and then it has like different school districts, different school ratings, and then like a lot of different publications. I know that people don't care for paper, but when it comes to those, I don't care if they're in the tech industry or not. People like to open up this magazine and see this big, huge map come out, and where I've highlighted areas and what the appreciation is. And a lot of times that's harder to send, online. So I'll put together a reload package and I send it out. I do a lot of FaceTime. That's why I was a little bit late today, because I did a FaceTime from someone who's moving from Frisco, Texas. They're actually going to be here next week, but that's outside of Dallas. And they, so I do a lot of FaceTime. We're making some sight unseen offers. One of the first things that I try to talk about is if you, I honestly, I wouldn't buy sight unseen. But if you have to move here, just like these people that are from Frisco, the Martin Marietta is the company that he's coming with, they have to be here before school starts. So August. So they've got to buy a house. So they're coming here next week to buy, or unless I saw something today that they really want. So I do a lot of FaceTime with people, and because not everyone does the Matterports or the virtual tours. I do for every one of my listings. I do Matterports. I do virtual listings. I mean, virtual tours, because so many people are looking online, and you know, they look at that dollhouse. Do you know what a Matterport is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 3D
Okay.
picture,
Yeah.
right? That
Dollhouse.
kind of goes around. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I do those for all of mine, and I've sold homes just because of those. People like those a lot. But I will tell people, you know, a lot of times if you really like a house, you just got to trust me. You know, this is a good neighborhood. It doesn't have everything you want. I've sold a few, not a lot, but I've sold a few through FaceTime and just saying, you know, you really need this house. So far, and knock on wood, um, the I haven't had people to come in and be disappointed. But you know, that I do explain that the homes here, just like where you are, they go in a day, you know, or Thursday through Sunday they show. And you know, and we're talking sick, and I know it's hard for Charlotte to understand that, because Tanya told me she had to take our offer to purchase contract and send it to the agents in Charlotte because they didn't believe it. But here, unless you can go over close to six figures and you can put 80 to 100,000 in due diligence, you're just not going to get a house. You're just not. That's
Yeah.
tough for me. That's really hard, because there was a lot of time in my life where that would have been so out of the question. And I hate to see people that save and save and save, and you have to drive 40 miles to get to work, you know, because you can't do that. And I don't like that, but it is the way it is.
So how do you prepare somebody for that then, right? Because there's this learning curve, especially coming from, I mean, the Bay Area is very similar in the sense that you have some pretty wild temper tantrum swings
Mhm.
of due diligence money or this non-refundable money. So there might be some similarities, but maybe Texas or these other places
Exactly.
that maybe are coming here. What's that
It's,
education
I,
for clients look like?
I've lost people. You either lose them or they believe you. And I have lost people before. I was talking to an agent in our office yesterday or a couple of days ago, and she lost someone. She said that she was on the phone trying to explain that, you know, unless you have 50,000 in due diligence, you're just not going to get this house. And they're like, well, it's not like that up here where they were. I think they were coming from Rhode Island or somewhere like that, Rhode Island, Vermont, wherever it was. And you know, and I have lost them because they'll say, well, there's no way I would ever put anything more than like maybe $5,000 that would be non-refundable. And I'll explain to people, Chris, that sometimes then I'm probably not the agent for you, because there's no reason to drive people around at, you know, gas prices what they are. And my car only gets like 14 miles to a gallon. So, you know, it costs a lot of money to be driving these people around. And so, you know, I'll explain to people that, you know, unless you have this, I'm probably not the best agent for you. It's amazing how many people will call you back, and you know, they won't tell you that they've talked to another agent, but you can tell that they have talked to another agent and or brokers, and they will tell them the same thing. So having that
Right.
conversation is tough. What I also tell them is, we live in an area where if you want to live in Wake County, do your research, and I can send you some links. And I have links that I'll send people about home prices in Wake County and how much above asking they're going. I'll tell people, go to Zillow. Just go to Zillow and put in closed sales in there. And when you see the closed sales, put in 500,000 and just see what the house closes for. If you don't see 600 or 650, then you know that I'm lying. You know, or you may think I'm lying. But I said, I'll tell them, look at Zillow. And or I'll just say, I can't help you. You know, I don't want to not take people. I want to help people, but it's just, if people are not willing to do that, then it's not a good fit. And I'll tell them that.
That's important. I think that how often does that conversation
Um,
allow somebody to say, okay, I get it, right?
Um,
I've got to
Pretty much
meet the
right away.
market demand. Yeah.
And you know what? And I hate to. This is not who I am, and it's not. I don't like the way this sounds, but the clients, the buyers that I have, they kind of already know that they've done their research. I have buyers now that they're looking at. They know what's going on here. I have one right now that's local. I have one buyer that's local. Everyone else is from somewhere else, and they've heard about what's going on in Raleigh. And then if somebody hasn't, I'll say, let me just send you a few links, and I just want you to read this, and then look at Zillow. And let me just, don't take I'm not going to send you listings, but just look at Zillow and see what the prices, what the homes close for, and you'll see the original
Sure.
asking. That seems to help. But I don't really have that conversation a lot because the majority of people that are moving here are relocating, and they've already heard, just like these people from Frisco, Texas, um, in their culture, and that's how I'll just kind of leave it at that. They don't typically make offers without trying to negotiate. And when he called, he says, I already know that, to live in Cary or Apex, that I'm going to have to go over 6 figures. He says, my colleagues told me that. So they kind of already know it. Now they are in that 1 to 2 range. So, they kind of, and you know what, they may not have to go over in that range, but there's a possibility that they may have to. And so I don't experience it a lot, but when I do, um, that's what I'll tell people.
So how do you help a buyer though stand out in this market, right? In the
Yeah.
sense that we do have so many offers on homes. What
Yeah.
are you doing?
Is and I don't know if maybe Tanya or Eb told you this. I do have a pretty good percentage of where, I mean, the average person is seeing 6 homes right now before they actually get a house. So you're making 6 offers before you actually get a house. That's the average right now here in Wake County. This thing will be recorded. A lot of people are going to see this. Okay.
That's the idea.
I'm
Yeah.
giving away a secret. It's not a secret, man. It's not a secret. I'm sure a lot of people do it. I was making all of these offers, Chris, and you know what happened? It was like I would do 655, 600, 625. And then when we started, and I'm not saying this, and I've lost them this way too. So I'm not saying this works every time, but I went to a seminar, and there's an agent here who's been doing this for 40 something years. And she shares a lot of information. I don't know if you've heard of Marty Hampton or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And she said, I almost didn't go. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go and see what she has to say. And I don't know why I didn't think of this. And you probably already know this. I started making my offers. If it was at 600, I would make my offer at 657, 132 and 50 cents. Now there was a house in it was called Four Oaks, which is south. It's going near 95. So it takes me 52 minutes because I know from my GPS it takes 52 minutes to get there. And there was a house there. And if someone wants a single family home and they want newer construction and they want to be under 450, that's where we have to take them. Places like that. And we went in, and it was new construction, but of course, they're doing the bidding wars on it. And when she called me to tell me that we got the house, she said, you got it by $125 because we had gone over $125.25. So I make my numbers very odd. I never do the even numbers. I never do a 5 and a 0 or anything like that. I do the odd numbers. And when I started doing that, it wasn't like I got them all. I didn't. I've still lost them, but I did get more. And I remember when Marty said, she said, just try it. She says, don't come in with those 5s and those 0s because that's where everybody else is coming in. So now the word is kind of getting around. So you're seeing all of these offers, like on my listings. I got one. I just closed on one 2 days ago, and it was $1,469,175. So you know what? That was a broker that knew that. I hate to say that secret too, but knew that. Now they did get it by quite a bit more than $175. but using those odd numbers like that, and I'm not in any way, shape, or form into numerology or anything like that, but just those odd numbers. And I don't know if you're seeing that come across your desk or not, but you know, those crazy numbers like that is what seems to have helped a little bit. The other thing too is I don't write any offer unless I waive inspections, and that doesn't mean they can't do an inspection, but that they just can't ask for repairs. And I know that that's built, or in the appraisal addendum, I know that that's built into the contract. And I remember, gosh, what's the guy's name? That goes around and does all the training. Steve Fitzgerald, is it Fitzgerald?
John.
John Fitzgerald, yeah. He and I had a conversation, and he says, "You don't need to do that." He sat in front of me, and I said, "Yes, I do." It's already in the contract that the seller doesn't have to accept it, but there's something psychological, and I just try to remember everything, even my listings. Make this something that is going to stand out psychologically. In my listings, when I do my photos, I try to, if they have a beautiful standard poodle, you know, we'll put the poodle, you know, try to get the poodle to sit on the, you know, anything that's different where people will notice. And he said, why would you do that? That makes no sense to me. And he said, I knew that Raleigh was doing stuff like that, but I had my attorney to put together a one-page addendum. I'm happy to send that to you. And it said, if the house doesn't appraise for such and such, we're still going to buy the house. Now there is a clause on there that has that if it appraises for, under or over or whatever it is, under or over this amount, that, we will negotiate it. I took that out. I just had all mine has in there is that they will pay that price. So I have that conversation with people, and I'll tell them, if you don't put it in there, you're probably not going to get it, because there are a lot of agents out there that are not aware. I wasn't aware that in the contract, I knew it, but I didn't know that. I'd never put it together in my head that the contract is, they don't have to accept the offer anyway. But if you have a separate addendum, then I always include that. And on the contract where it says additional documents or whatever, and I have a attorney drafted appraisal addendum. So
You feel like you do that because when there's the additional addendum, it draws attention to the fact that there's something there? Okay.
Yep, absolutely, 100%. Yep.
So I want to segue a little bit here, and I mean, not that this hasn't been extremely helpful to some realtors as well, but I think some buyers certainly got a lot of insight into how you can strategically position them in the market. I want to help some realtors. Before we do that, I'm gonna hit you with one of these pod decks cards. Here's the first one: is who would play you in a movie?
Oh my God. I would, with personality wise and everything, who I would say is Harry Connick Jr.
Okay, all right. Would we break out into song or what?
You know what? I don't know. You know what it is? I think he's to me, he seems to, and I hate to blow smoke up. I'm not blowing smoke up my ass, but he is, he's just like a genuine guy. He does, like, it seems like he's pretty genuine and not full of himself or anything like that, and I kind of like that. And I hope that's what I would like. So I've never even been asked that. I've never even thought about it, but I always liked him. And I always thought that he was just a really nice guy. And I know he does a lot for his community in Louisiana. And so I know that if I were in a place where I could do something like that for, I would absolutely do that. You're on my social media, and you know how I am about animals and things like, so I'm a big guy. You see me, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'3" and 240 pounds. But let me tell you, inside, I'm a little baby. I'm a little teddy bear.
I love it. All right, let me hit you with one more, and then we'll move on.
All right.
What slogan or jingle has gotten stuck in your head forever?
Experience has its rewards.
Okay. Why was that? Why was that stuck in your head?
I started using that after about year 6, 7, or 8, maybe 10. I don't remember. I've been in this 18 years. And actually, that's if you go to my website or you go to, I don't think it's on my business card. Um, I'm not saying that new agents don't know what they're doing, because they do. And you know what? Honestly, they're a lot smarter than I am in a lot of ways. When you get brand new agents, especially younger agents, and they're very tech savvy. They grew up with computers. They have a lot to offer that I don't have to offer in that way. But as far as life experiences and people experiences with buyers and with sellers, I think that just having experiences in the past, you kind of know more what to do, as opposed to being someone that has no experience with. And you know what? Everybody has to be given a chance. And I remember when I first started this, life experiences, and I think, by losing homes, learning things in inspections that I should have done, that I may not have done, like that. I think those things are what make you a better broker. Whereas, but I do believe also everybody deserves a chance. And so these new agents, if everybody felt like, hey, I only want an experienced agent, then how would new people get their start? So it's kind of like, what do you really do? But I would look for a good mentor. If I were a brand new agent now, I would want a really good mentor, and not me, for me personally, just for me. I think teams are great. As a matter of fact, I'm Tanya and Barbara in our office are working on getting me some help, because I have right now I'm at a point where I'm just working my listings, and I've got more buyers than I know what to do with, and I'm referring them out because I can't do it all. I've got 4 new listings that I need to get in pretty much right away. I'm working with some buyers. I have 3 or 4 that I'm working with, but I have a lot more. I get new business all the time. So, what I did not want to happen, I didn't want another team. I didn't want the drama. It happened kind of organically. So we had a conversation actually this week, and in the office, and we're going to try to find some help. So when I say that experience has its rewards, I'm talking about life experiences too, not so much, don't give a brand new agent a chance, because I believe everybody needs a chance in life. If no one had ever given me a chance, I'd be real hungry right now.
So if you're a new agent that you just got your license, right? You maybe have latched on with the brokerage. What's that 1, 2, 3 things that you say? I know you mentioned mentor, but what's that 1, 2, or 3? You must do this if you want to have any chance here.
And you know what? I really hope that people of a different generation hear this. That is, answer your text messages, answer your calls, and get back to people. I have found out, and I'm not afraid to say this, and some people would maybe scared to say it, but I will. When I'm working with agents that are, say, 35, 40 and up, communication is great for the most part. When you have under that, they get back to you whenever they want to get back to you, if at all. It's everything is on there. And you know what? I guess because I've just busted my butt so hard my whole life, and and that's one of the reasons I get so many referrals, is because is I am there for people. I'm not saying take your phone with you everywhere. Everybody needs life balance, and that's part of my problem. Is I haven't learned. I need somebody to help teach me more about life balance, because right now I'm at a crossroads, and I'm at a place in my life right now where I've got to make some changes, because I don't have life balance, and it's not a good thing. So you need it, but just get back to people. Get back to people.
Sure.
And other brokers too. I'm not talking just your clients, but other brokers too. And I have so many people that have worked with other brokers, and they'll say they were really young, and I would call them and I would hear from them 2 days later. And
Wow.
that is something that I am not even 100%, 1000% adamant about, is just get back to them. Even if it's a text message. You know what? I was at the gym last night, and I just says, I'm at the gym. Can I get back to you? That's it, just something. And it really goes a long ways, because no one was mad, or and I've had to, I have showings and I'm like, I have showings until 4 o'clock. Can I call you this evening? And this will be in the morning. So just getting back to people, that's it. Just get back to people.
So when you start out as an agent, whether you're looking into luxury real estate, whether you're looking into, any working for a builder, whatever it is, we've all got the sales funnel we've got to follow, right? We've got, what are our lead sources? Where are we going? You mentioned when you moved here, going and networking anywhere and everywhere you possibly could. But what are those 1, 2, or 3 things that before you built the referral business, right? Before you were able to kind of get this repeat business and people kind of spreading the word for you, think back to when you're starting out. What's that 1, 2, or 3 things that you felt like this really propelled my business in terms of choosing this as a lead source? How did you generate leads from that source? And maybe any success story there, and what methods of communication, because you mentioned phone call, you mentioned text, what did you do to convert those leads? So let's start with the lead source, or sources. What were you doing when you started out?
Well, because of my background in human resources, and the reason I told you that I got my license, was because I was referring business out, to other brokers. One of the things that I did was I took advantage of all of the companies that we have here, that just like you have in Charlotte. I met with every human resources manager that I could possibly meet with. There's a group there called SHRM, and that's a human resources organization. Got involved with them. I got to know them. And so I met with I took every human resource manager out, or human resource person out that would go with me. A lot of people said no. Most people said no, but anyone that would. And so I just remember writing emails and writing letters and anything I could to get human resources people, because I wanted the referrals, because I remembered how many referrals I used to give out. And I'm like, here I am living in a place where all of this business is coming from, an area where there's not a lot of business because it was mostly tourism down there, and the cruise line industry, but in the yachting industry, but we didn't have business down there like we had here. So I was like, I'm going to take advantage of this. So I was constantly out, and I'm not saying out going into their office, but writing letters or writing cards, sending emails if I could, going to SHRM meetings, anything like that. I was trying to get in. Now, when I would talk about Robert Half, and I would talk about I own my own recruiting firm, a lot of these HR people, their ears perk up, and now I'm in real estate, so I can really help your person out, a lot, especially with relocation. And so that kind of helped me out. Not everyone has that. So I can only give you my personal experience. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't done that. I'm just being completely transparent honest with you. But I did use that to my advantage.
And I think that helps a lot of people, is understanding that maybe it's not the headhunter background, maybe it's not the recruiting background, but is there another background that somebody's listening to that they have, that they can turn that into their center of influence, their referral source, right? So
find whatever your passion is. You know what, if you were going to real estate, and I don't know whether you did with mortgages or not, look at those guitars behind you, the music industry. You know what, you talk to people that are in the music industry or play guitar or whatever, and you know what, I can guarantee, this too, Chris, the first person they're going to think about, when they want to get a mortgage or buy a house is, Chris. I mean, he played the guitar, he was in music. I mean, so anything that's if animals, I love animals. So I got involved with the Wake County SPCA, so we've got 2 little rescues myself, and show pictures of that. But anything you have a passion about, I would say, follow up on that. Just let people know what your passion is, and then meet other people that have those similar passions. And and the referrals will follow. They really, in my background, or in my past, I should say, they have. So, anything that I don't have a passion about, I'm not very good at. My 2 little dogs are my kids, and I'm passionate about them, and I love animals. And so, you know what? Most of my clients, almost 100% of my clients probably are just like me, because we talk about houses and we talk about all the stuff that goes with a house, but we talk about our dogs a lot too, you know. So, um,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
our cars, you know what? People know I love cars, you know, so get involved with a car club. You know what? I'm just saying, that's what I would do. You know, if I were moving here today, I would think, okay, I love cars a lot. You know what kind of car club can I get involved with? There's a club for everything. And you know that, or Facebook group, Facebook group.
Yeah,
And you know how many people go on in there and say, well, what do you do? You know, or they'll,
sure.
so, it's just a way to get started. Maybe sell 2, 3 houses a year, but you know what? That leads to 6 or 8 the next year. So,
Yeah, absolutely. It can definitely build
mhm,
on each year, right? I mean, so it's not necessarily an overnight success business, right? So there needs to be some patience for a new realtor trying to get into this business. Now, when you go into the car club, or you go into, whatever it is that you're involved in, how do these conversations come up? What are your methods for actually saying, I'm going to be intentional to generate leads from this? How do you open that line of conversation? What's that look like?
I'm a little bit different, because a lot of people, and I know some specifically, that will go in and the first thing they're thinking about is, I'm going into this because I'm going to tell everybody I do real estate. Do you want to buy a house? I don't do that. I really don't. I go in and I start conversations about other things, and I let it happen naturally. Um, I go to the gym a lot, especially this year. I've been really going to the gym a lot, and I've gotten 2 new leads from that. And it wasn't because I went to the gym to try to get more leads or get real estate. It was just going there, and then people start talking. You talk to people, and, well, what do you do? Oh, you know what? And then they talk about the market. My neighbor, or whoever. I didn't have that to happen with my neighbor, but I know someone, that's going to be selling their house. You should talk to them. You know what? Unfortunately, I didn't get that listing because they knew someone, but at least I got in front of them. I did get in front of them.
Sure.
So, but just I don't go into things thinking, let me go in here, because I really do believe that people are a pretty good judge of character a lot of times. And when you go in and people feel like you're only there to get the business, but if you go in and you're really genuine about something, um, it goes a long ways. I'm going to give you a perfect example, and I'm going to stay on track with this, but I'm going to tell you something. One thing happened, and it was with you, that that as long as I live, I will never ever forget. And that is when my mother passed away, who was my best friend, and I went up on her service, and you had sent those flowers, and your company had. As long as I live, I'll never ever forget that. And so that was something that was probably so, let me just do this because I feel bad for Dwayne, but you'll never have any idea how, I mean, when I die, I'll remember that, and we got a lot of stuff like that, but I had just met you and you had sent that.
Yeah.
Things like that, little things like that, I think go so far. If you were a real estate agent, a broker, and I wouldn't care if you'd been in it for 2 weeks, I would say, will you sell me my house? So, and I
Sure.
may not be your best referral source. And I will tell you, I mean, I do have a lot of listings, and that's one of the reasons why. And it seems like a lot of these buyers are coming from California or whatever, and they're cash, so,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
not to take away from anything you're doing, but, I'm just saying that people remember the things that you think they'll never remember, to talk about, I think a lot of people do. You
Yeah.
never know, you know.
So give a damn about people, right? I mean,
Exactly.
and the things you do, um, beyond just your own wallet and your own self, I think I mean, that's one of the things that's always driven me, right? Is input and effort
Right.
is what, you know, people, especially in the mortgage world, love to talk about. What are your sales? What are your numbers? What are this? What are that? And it's not that I don't know what they are. It's just that that's not what really drives me,
Mhm.
right? What's driving me is connection with individuals and making sure that they feel loved and feel value and feel that I'm listening to their passion. And I'm so excited that that's, what you're sharing today, because it truly speaks to what I'm doing. Now, you do use, and I'll wrap this up here, Dwayne, you use technology in some really very cool ways. One of the things I got from you, since you're talking about the flowers, what I got from you, which I thought I'd not received before, which was a video from you that said happy birthday to me.
Oh yeah, I try to do this.
And that to me, again, it's just a natural part of who you are and how you celebrate people. But what got you into doing that? Like how are you using technology to your advantage? What can maybe a realtor look at as well in terms of doing this?
I'm gonna give you a real good example here. This was this was a sale. It's not a sale. Matter of fact, and I'm gonna refer this person to you, but I was supposed to meet with him yesterday, but he got COVID, and so we put it off. So there's this message that I got over the weekend, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I'm just, I'm not the greatest. I'm not on TikTok. I mean, I like looking at it. You get addicted to it in a way.
It's jail. It'll put you in jail. Is what it does. You're like, how did all this time go by?
You get addicted to it, and so it's really. But I do put my listings on Facebook. I'll put different things that happen in the area on Facebook. I put it on Instagram, but it automatically goes to Facebook. And then LinkedIn, things like that. Not everything on LinkedIn, and not in I try not to put price points, because I see so many people that put on there, this house sold for this. Now there are times that I might put it on there just because I want them to know you can get this much for your house if you live in this neighborhood now. So I may put that on there. But it's not about trying to show, because people can do the numbers, and that people don't need to be looking to see that times whatever, and they made this much. So I try to keep that, out of it if I can. But just being consistent with what you do, I believe really makes a difference. So I don't know if you can see, this was Friday. Friday at 11 a.m. And I'm just going to read you part of this. Hi, Dwayne. My name is Ryan Keeler. We've been looking to buy a new home. We have both followed you on Facebook for many years now and finally decided to reach out. We currently have a renovated 1950s ranch home in Raleigh on the Cary border and need something bigger and newer. We have a neighborhood in mind, Mornington Estates. We have been through the neighborhood several times and would love it. Would you be able to help us with the process? We would love to work with you. I don't know this guy from Adam. And so we set up an appointment. I've talked to him on the phone. We're going to list their house for in the sixes. The one that they've already picked out, and it's going to be ready in 2 months, is almost 880 something thousand. That was all through Facebook. That was just all through Facebook and being consistent with putting stuff on there and not bragging about it. And I see so many people to put on there, they have to put on there, oh, I'm showing 4 homes today. And then I went from 2 listings and I did this and this and this. I don't do any of that. I have to put the house on there and the parts that people might find interesting, where it was located, or, how many, it had 3-car garage and it was inside the Beltline, which is the city, and it had a 3-car garage, things like that people, might find interesting, not prices. And, then I took them to lunch and all this stuff, all the fluff. We don't need that in there. I don't need that in there, I should say.
Sure.
But that is an example right there of just being consistent. And, so a couple of times a year that happens with Facebook. There's a girl in our office and she says, I would never spend that much time putting my stuff on Facebook because social media doesn't work. And a lot of times I would just keep my mouth closed because there's no reason to argue with anybody that already has their mind made up on that. But, if you're a person that wants to be up on the stage for the awards banquet, or the, sales conventions or something like that, you might want to think about doing these things, just being, I think consistency and people knowing, I know you for your glasses and the red, everything about you is red. It seems like you always have glasses on, and now I see the guitars. But you know what? So just being consistent with things, and I swear to you, when I look at your Facebook page, and sometimes I'll look and I'm like, wonder what kind of glasses he has on today. So just things like that. You know what? I just believe that
Yeah.
being consistent with things like that, it sticks in people's head. And I think same with social media. You know, just be consistent with things. And I really do believe it may not work for everyone, but not in a bragging way. You know, not to
Yeah.
talk about numbers and bragging, but just things that people might find interesting. People don't care how much commission, or I should say, or how much the house sold for a lot, or, you know, I sold it for this amount, or this. You know what? We're all selling homes for 50 and 100,000 over. So what's so special about you
Right.
going 50 or $100,000 over? You know, it's sold. So, you know, that's but just being consistent with social media, I think, works.
I love it. And understanding that it might make you uncomfortable. It might make you feel out of your skin a little bit because you're evolving into putting yourself out there. And sometimes we have to strip back this barrier of really giving a damn what other people think or say, because most people don't really care that deeply about any of it anyway. You know, I'm sure there are people out there that will look at my glasses and say, this is a guy that's goofy. This is a guy that doesn't take himself seriously or anything like that. Maybe, but again, then maybe I'm not the loan officer for you.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
No,
It
you know,
is because
I think
I
it's
look
great
at it
though.
and say, I got to wear specs all day, every day. I'm not a contacts wearer. And so if I'm going to wear glasses every day, I might as well have different pairs, like I have different pairs.
That's right, man, and have fun with it. And you know what? And look, I remember, I always know you. When I look for you when I see you on any social media, I always think, look, what kind of glasses he's wearing, you know? So, and I even hit the picture and enlarged it sometimes. So, so just know we're out there looking at it.
There's subtleties now I can't see, but these are actually black camo.
Oh, nice.
With
Yeah.
the white frames. So I figured out Oakley allows me to custom make them
Yeah.
online. And so I get to kind of mix and match however I want. So
Yeah.
when I'm feeling like I want to treat myself to something, it's like, well, you know, we'll get some glasses today.
There you go. I love it, man.
Well, Dwayne, man, listen, I appreciate your time, and I know you got a busy schedule ahead of you, so I appreciate you spending some time
I was
with
happy
me.
to do anything I could for you. You're a great guy. So anyone listening, they need to talk to you. So
Oh, I appreciate